Hey everyone, this is Rachel, and here is the packing to fly to a crop video that I had mentioned over the summer that several of you said, yes, please go ahead and film it. So packing to fly to a crop is different from packing to drive to a crop. You have weight restrictions, you have size restrictions, you have amount of luggage you can bring restrictions, so you definitely do need to do a lot of prep work. You don't need to do as much prep work as I do because I'm a little bit nutty when it comes to stuff like that, but I just definitely feel by prepping a little bit, you'll have a much more enjoyable experience. Okay, so first off, couple things. Number one, if you just watched one of my other packing to fly to a crop videos, this is going to be incredibly similar, so just be aware of that fact. Number two, I'm going to be filming this over the next couple of weeks rather than in one fell swoop, so if I repeat myself, please understand that it may have been a couple weeks ago, even if it's the same dumb joke. It may not be that I remember I told that same joke, a week previous, so, please be aware of that. And number three, occasionally my mouth gets ahead of my brain. So if there's just an immediate cut off of the video, it's just because I started rambling on about something that isn't applicable to this actual video. So I apologize for that. Okay, so before I actually start packing, I do plan. The first thing I do before I'm going to go to any crop, whether I fly or I drive, is I make a schedule. And please understand, this is not a schedule I plan to keep. I'm not going to say, oh, it's 1 o'clock, I need to be scrapbooking my, 8th layout. This is just to give me an idea of how much I should bring in order to be productive. So I start when the crop starts. I leave room for dinners, lunches, when I go to bed. Like the first night, I have me only scrapbooking up till 10 p.m. Now, does that mean I can't stop scrapbooking at 9 if I'm super duper tired? Of course not. It's just, when I have a long day, that's the day I'm flying into the crop, I don't necessarily think I'm going to stay up super duper late. So, I'm honest with myself on what it takes for me to complete a layout. For me, because I film, I know on average how long it takes. It's an hour, so I put that in. So if from 3 to 6, I'm going to scrapbook, I know I could probably do 3 layouts. That does not mean I have to do 3 layouts at that point. It just means I probably could. So by the end, in looking at the timing of the beginning of the crop, including any meals, anything like that, I might be able to do 26 layouts. Now, I might only do 4 layouts and have a spectacular time, and I'll be perfectly happy with that. But I know not to bring enough to do 60 layouts if, time-wise, there really is only enough to do around 26. That does not mean I can't be super duper productive and get a lot more done, but granted, it's not going to be 60. So I'm actually going to be bringing right now I have around 30 layouts planned. So I might do a couple more, but that's what I have so far. This is right now, we're in the last weekend of September as I'm filming this first part, as I said, because I have plans to film it over the next couple of weeks. I might add a few to that list. So this is just my first step. So now I know approximately what I should be bringing. The next thing I do is I go through and I pick out sets of photographs to work with. So when I talk about a set of photographs, I'm simply saying these are the photos I want to include on the scrapbooking layout about notebooks. So I'm going to do a scrapbook layout about notebooks, and I've got photos of 3 of my favorite notebooks, and that's the scrapbooking page I'm going to make for them. So I will take those 3 photographs and I will match it up with a set of papers that I think is a good match, either color-wise, theme-wise, mood-wise, whatever works well to my brain, that's what I'm going to do. When I'm packing to fly to a crop, as opposed to packing to drive to a crop, I try to keep it to where I have a set amount of space for those kits. When I drive to a crop, I may try to keep it to a certain amount of kits, but I don't necessarily set a specific amount and say, I don't want to bring any more than this amount.
Actually doing this part as a voiceover. I did not realize in the background of this part of the video, one of my neighbors apparently was trying to get the attention of someone and they were repeatedly honking their horn. Just one of those things I didn't realize until afterward. So basically all I'm talking about here is depending on how you store your supplies at home means whether you have more or less work to prepare kits, because I definitely feel that you will be better off making a kit, especially if you're flying to a crop. I think going to a crop in general, you're better off by making kits, but if that's something that freaks you out, obviously you shouldn't do it. But especially when you are flying to a crop, having a kit put together, whether it be page kits where you take 1 to 2 pieces of paper and a little bit of embellishments for one set of photos, or whether, like me, you pack either by manufacturer line or creating a kit so that way you can have a ready to go kit for something along the lines of by either manufacturer line or an already put together kit like a hip kit or a citrus twist kit. That way you're ready to go with that set of photos and those set of papers and embellishments so you can go ahead and scrap once you're there. All right, back to talking to you in real time.
So this is what I will be bringing kit-wise. Now, these kits will go into my carry-on when I'm flying to the crop. The reason being, if I have these in my checked luggage and they lose my luggage, I will not be able to scrapbook easily. Now, obviously, I could go out and buy all new supply, all new paper, and I could go and have all my photos reprinted, but that would take a while and be a pain in the butt. So when I pack, I do put my basic supplies in my checked luggage because I could buy glue and I could buy scissors, and I could even buy a new trimmer, not like my really expensive one, but I could buy just a basic trimmer at Walmart or Michael's or Target or any of the big box stores, you know, will have like basic supplies. They will not have, you know, We Are Memory Keepers and Cartabella and Simple Stories and stuff like that. They also, you know, will not, you know, even though I can reprint my photos, it's not like I have a file on my computer saying, here are all the photos that you printed for the crop, you know, in case you need to reprint them. Just not something I do. So on the way to the crop, these go in my carry-on. Now on the way home, these go in my checked luggage because my completed layouts go in my carry-on, simply because, same principle. You know, if I lose these, you know, the scraps, I mean, obviously I've already scrapbooked with them, I will be upset. But if I lose my completed layouts, I will be devastated because I've worked hard on them and they're complete, and you know I've written down the memories and all of that. So that is rather annoying if they were to lose it or if there was to be some sort of damage to it. So basically, when you're flying versus when you're driving to a crop, you just need to think about stuff like that. You know, what am I willing to hold that it might or might not be damaged versus, you know, what do I want to keep with me at all times? All right, so let's move on. So just two things to get through when it comes to this introduction part before I actually start physically packing. The first is journaling. journaling can be an issue when you're at a crop, whether you're flying or whether you're driving, that doesn't make a difference. For me, what I like to do is I pre-write my journaling. Like obviously I have the list of what layouts I'm doing, and I keep a list of that on Google Drive. So obviously you could just use Office products like Excel or anything like that. And so I have a document for journaling, and I just write the name of the layout and not the actual title. Sometimes it's just Dolphin Show. I don't necessarily plan on calling something Dolphin Show, but it just gives me an idea because I haven't necessarily thought of the exact title I'm planning on using. I then also have a list of all the layouts I'm going to do, or the layouts I'm packing, not the layouts I'm going to do, but the layouts I'm packing for the crop. I just have, like basically same thing, like Dolphin Show or First Day Nephew. Like I'm not actually going to call it that. It's just an idea. And then I have, what kit it's in. And then I just have other stuff like how many photos and stuff like that. And that lets me know, if it has 5 photos, do I want to make a double or a single page? Does it have, 9 photos? Do I want a sketch? Do I want to look for a sketch rather than try to figure out on my own? I then also have a packing list. And this is simply because I like to make packing lists when I go on any trip I go on. So and that way, while I'm thinking of something, if all of a sudden something pops in my head, I can just pop over to this, and I have the app for Google Drive on my phone, and I can just type it in, and that way when I'm going to pack, I go, oh yes, I did want to bring these, and I did want to bring that. So for me, that just works. So I make a packing list, and I have my journaling pre-written, and I have a list of all of what my layouts are, and that's what works for me. That does not necessarily mean it will work for you, and you can take my information with whatever level of crazy Uber packing nonsense you want. So to work my way back around to journaling, as I was saying, I pre-write my journaling. Crops can be a little bit noisier than working at home. You can be chatting with people. People can be asking you questions, so trying to journal off the cuff at a crop can be difficult. So you can be like me where you pre-write it, or you could simply leave a space for your journaling, put it on a Post-it note or, whatever you want, to remind yourself, and then do it once you're back home. Like as you're unpacking your layouts, go ahead and do your journaling then. It's just an idea. You of course can do whatever you like, but that's just an idea I have because I know for me, the journaling, not the hardest part in the sense of doing the journaling, but making sure I'm not making mistakes while doing the journaling is the hardest part for me. Up next, I'm going to be going through the different bags I'm going to be packing and what is going in each bag. I will be bringing a bag for checked luggage. I will be bringing an under-the-seat carry-on. That's my favorite kind of carry-on. The one I have fits under every single seat except like the really small regional airplanes. And for that, I just gate check it. And then I will also be bringing a personal item, and my personal item this time around is brand new. I've never used it before, so that will be interesting. All right, folks, here we go. Time to pack. Okay, so I'm starting off with what I call my basic supplies. These are things that aren't stuff that say it's like from a manufacturer line or it's part of my kit. It's basic stuff I may use on 1, 2, 10, 15 layouts, but I only may use it on 1 or 2. It's the rulers and the punches and the flare and the wood veneer and the stickers that we all have in our stash that we add at the last minute, that we add to a kit, that we think, oh, I just need that one special little thing right there and it doesn't have it in this line. I do keep a container of stuff in my checked luggage that is what as I said, I call my basic supplies. And all of those live in an iris container. I usually end up filling it so it's not wasted space. That way it's all contained, and that way also when you get to the crop, you can pick this up from your luggage and carry it into the crop room, and it doesn't disturb your clothing or whatever else you've brought. It's self-contained. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I'm going to pack into it, but the first thing I'm going to show you is this little bag, and this is kind of my bag of odds and ends. I like to keep it in a container. It doesn't zip, but it's not going to fall out. And so what I'm going to do is unpack this, show you what's in it, repack it, and then move on. Magic. Okay, so here's what's in my random bag o' stuff. It is really a mixed bag, some embellishments, some help stuff. So for mixed media, I have 2 clear packaging things to use for the packaging techniques. This is what I actually store my die cuts in normally, but I had 100 of them. So I grabbed a couple and I repurposed them to do the packaging technique. And then I have used gift cards that I use to spread media. What I normally do is I cut them in half so I can use both ends, or if I've got a particularly long stencil, I'll use it lengthwise. And those are just great because when you're done with them, you can throw them away. You don't have to wash it and bring it back on the plane with you. I then have some just random stickers. These are in the colors I usually use, pinks and aquas and blacks and whites and wood grains and stuff like that. And like as I was saying, they don't necessarily go with any particular line, but if I'm looking for a sticker, I can look there. Then I have epoxy hearts and enamel dots, or enamel hearts, not epoxy hearts. And these are just what I keep right above me when I'm scrapbooking. And then if I just want to add a couple little things at the end, these are available to me. My hope is that at least with a couple of them, I will finish them off and not have to bring them back home with me. This is a really big one. Let's move that to the back. So that is also in that bag. I also have with me all these stencils, and I just grab some ones that go, oh, look, I haven't worked with that one for a while. Oh, I think that might be cute, blah, blah, blah. There isn't really a rhyme or reason to why I chose a particular one. It just, ooh, pretty. Then I have just some various doilies. I would say I'm kind of half and half in the doily market. I use them, then I don't, then I use them, then I don't. So I do want to bring a couple just to be on the safe side. So next we have up just some random bits that I have in the container above where I scrapbook. And I thought, you know, I'll go ahead and bring them and I'll put them in when I keep my stuff in at the crop and see if I manage to use them there. I then have 2 rolls of washi tape. This one I basically use to hold stuff down, and this one I absolutely adore. It's a rose gold wood grain. I have never actually managed to use it, but I love it. So I'm gonna take it with me. Hopefully I'll be able to use it, hopefully. But so all of these are going to go in here, and I will come back and they will magically be in the bag. Okay, so here's everything I'll put back in the bag. Now, obviously, I could zip it up if I didn't bring in my Tim Holtz dot fade, but this is my most used stencil, so odds are I'm going to want to use it. So I definitely don't want to not use it, not bring it. So that is one thing that goes in my iris container. And so I forgot to mention, I've mentioned in my introduction that I use a spreadsheet. So what I do is I just list each item and where the item goes. I then keep a notepad and pen with me, so if there's anything I'm going to add to my list, I can do that. And then that way I have a list, so when I'm packing up, I can double check against it, so that way I don't leave anything there. So I don't think I put anything in there that I didn't list. I might double check on the doily. So I'm just going to write down doily. I'm not totally sure on that one. All right, so another thing that goes in my Iris Container Basic Supplies is this postcard, and this is just what I use to cover photos when I am misting. So next up, I have this container of wood veneer, flare, and acrylics. So once again, these are things that I don't necessarily have in my embellishment lines, in my kits, unless they came with that particular manufacturer line. But I do sometimes go, ooh, this needs a flare, or I need some wood veneer on this. And so this is what I reach for. So I just grabbed ones that, once again, caught my fancy. You know, their shapes I like, their designs I like, their, in the case of the acrylics, their words I like. So this also goes into my basic supplies. I also add 3 ATG refills. I've never refilled my ATG more than once at a crop, but you know, just in case. I also bring my Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher. Once again, chances of me using this, not very great, but it's one of those things I like to bring just in case. I also bring my Stampin' Up! Banner Punch. When you are going to a crop, you do need to watch your weight limits. So if you are someone who is close to the weight limit, you know, if you can pop this in your carry-on, you can do that. I usually am nowhere near the 50-pound limit, so I'm not super concerned. It is, however, the only punch I bring, and that's just because I tend to use this one. So if I was constantly saying, hey, can I borrow that? Hey, can I borrow that? I would annoy myself, never mind the person whom I'm borrowing it from. If there's a punch you use on every layout, I would suggest bringing it. If not, I would suggest leaving it at home. There's a very good chance that someone else will have, if not the exact same, something very similar to what you have. And unless you're, like I said, asking to borrow it for every layout or every other layout, they are most likely not going to be really annoyed that you are borrowing it. I mean, they'll be perfectly happy to let you borrow it. They'll be slightly annoyed, but that's okay. No, they'll be more than happy to let you borrow it. I also bring some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. These are ones that I like using. They're thinner than the ones you can get in the big box stores, but you know, depending on what you like your height of things to be, you know, you might like the more dimensional things. So, but that's something I definitely bring in my basic supplies. I also bring scissors. These are my bigger scissors. I have other scissors, but these are the ones I like to bring because they're nice and sharp. I do bring detailed scissors. I do bring those in my carry-on. FAA rules right now are 4-inch blades are less than 4 inches. You can bring it on a carry-on. This is exactly 4 inches, so it's just one of those things where it's on the cusp, so I don't want to risk it. So I do bring my detailed scissors in my carry-on. You know, same thing. If this gets a little lost or misplaced, I do have scissors, and I could obviously go and pick up a pair of scissors, you know, at a Walmart. You know, it wouldn't be my, you know, I wouldn't want to necessarily, but you can. Next thing I'm going to bring, and this is actually new, so I need to bring it with me. It's a stitch guide ruler from Close to My Heart. I actually just got it. I do not plan on stitching with it. I plan on poking holes. My friend Laura was like, you can just poke the holes using the stitch guide. You don't actually have to mail it. Oh, Xanthi, dude, no. Sorry, had to cut away because we had a cat come up. So as I was saying, you don't actually have to sew with it. As my friend Laura was like, you can just line up and punch holes. And that's what I plan to do. I don't plan on sewing. For those of you who don't know, I don't sew, but I do plan on punching holes and having that be a texture on my layouts. So now obviously you don't have to make a packing list if that's not something that interests you. It's just something I find helpful. Okay. I also bring my centering ruler, and that's just to line up thickers. Some people like to use wax paper. Some people like to use the thickers guides. I like a centering ruler. That's a personal choice. I'm also going to bring my glue holder. Now that is also new, so it will have to go on my list. And so this just holds my liquid glue upside down, so it's always ready to go. I then also bring my journaling pen, my Slick Writer journaling pen, and my pokey tool, which would be helpful if I'm bringing the stitch guide. Now, one thing I'm putting in here that doesn't necessarily go in here is just these little brads. These actually go with one of my kits, but because of the way they're stored, they're a pain in the butt. In the kits, because they're so thick. So I'm just gonna put them in here, it's fine. So the next thing I have are 2 packages of chipboard stickers, and these are just very basic. They're not themed. One is mostly black and whites and golds, and the other is aqua pinks and golds, which is a color that's super popular in scrapbooking right now. So they end up being very useful just as an additional piece on a layout if you don't happen to have something in the manufacturer line that works. I'm also adding to that some word and phrase stickers, once again, very generic for the most part. And then I'm also adding tile alphabet stickers, and then there are more mini tile alphabet stickers in here as well, which are great for longer titles or for subtitles and stuff like that. So these are the things that go into my kit. Oh, wait, no, one more thing. Sorry, forgot. I also bring this little light, and it just pops up. There are no batteries in here right now because when I travel, I don't pack batteries in the light thingy. So I will pack those, and then I will pack the batteries separate. I think I actually needed to replace those, so I didn't add more. So I will go get those, and so those go in as well. I'm also adding my mixed media mat. Now, this is not actually a mixed media mat. What this is a Teflon baking sheet that I got on Amazon for, I believe, around $4 or $5. I actually cut it in half because it was huge, and so it rolls up nice and small, and usually I have a paper clip that holds it shut, but I don't know where that actually went. That's okay, I'll find it later. And the batteries actually don't go in my checked baggage. I don't remember what batteries are allowed in and what batteries aren't allowed, so I just bring them in my carry-on. They're obviously very small as they're batteries. I have just a couple other things left to go in here. I'm going to pack these creamies from Shimmer's Paints in case I want to do some mixed media, not with my mists, but with actual watercolors. And then I'm going to bring this stuff I picked up at Joann's. It's artist tape for curves, and I thought it just might be fun to play with. I have no idea if I'll end up using it, but hey, why not try it? And then the last thing going into my basic supplies is white cardstock. This is from Close to My Heart. Okay, so here's everything in this iris container, and I didn't show you me actually putting it in simply because it takes a lot. Like, there's a little bit of juggling here and there. I ended up taking the washi tape out of the little bag because it actually fit under my banner punch and kept that level. Not that it needs to be level, it just worked out better than in the bag. I was able to, one thing I forgot, my little foam blender handle thingy, so that I can just pop right there. But it's a lot of, does this go here? Does this go there? Does this, obviously you're going to start off with the flatter things. I will flip it over and show you the underneath. I started off with the white cardstock. This just fits, so I just have to clear it by here. It's no big deal, but I just want to. And obviously things slide around a little bit, these stickers. So I start off with the white cardstock, I then went to my ruler, and then I went more to the thing. Now, you might be going, oh, you're looking around. Just in case you didn't know, that's exactly what they do with your suitcase when you go to, when you fly. So, no worries. Now you know nothing's going to come flying out. It's all contained in here. So there you go. So this is my Iris Case O basic supplies that goes into my checked bag. So I'm going to continue on with another part of my packing retinue. So I'll be right back. Okay, next up is my bag o' liquids. So anything going into your luggage for flying that is a liquid of any kind should be in a plastic bag. In fact, my mists, which go in, I double plastic bag. I put them in their own bag, and then I put them in the big plastic bag. And you'll see here, this one and this one, they did semi-explode at some point, so I was very, very grateful. And you can see they actually got, like, there's the pink one, it got on that one as well. So I was very, very glad that I did this because it kept it from getting over everything. I'm also going to add my white pen because of the liquidness of this. I wanted to add that to my liquid bag rather than keep it just in my regular things. I'm going to add my liquid glue. I'm also going to add a matte texture paste and a glittered texture paste. Now, so what I do, as opposed to when I'm driving to a crop versus flying to a crop, when I'm driving to a crop, I keep my texture pastes to white and clear. Like this one dries clear, this one dries white. And then I can use my mists to color them rather than bringing all of my colored texture pastes. It just saves time, it saves room, and it works out better for me. I'm also going to add clear gesso. I forgot to bring that up into the camera's range. Some mini inks to do ink edging, and then a bigger black one simply because I don't have it in the mini ink. Okay, that I believe is all that is going in my bag of liquids. Yes, okay. I do have another black ink pad that is more for stamping than for edging as the Distress ink is, but I'm going to actually be using that before I go to make some cards, so I don't want to pack that away just yet. So there will also be a Ranger dye ink that goes as well. Now, anytime I have ink that has a lid, I add some washi tape to it just to keep it in place. And be aware when you fly, this does not happen every time, but it does happen occasionally. And it doesn't happen to every single ink. Sometimes it'll just be one ink. Sometimes the pressure on the airplane will squish the ink out to the edges. So when you first take the cap off, there will be ink all around the edge. So just be careful because you can get ink all over yourself if you are not careful about it. Let's go ahead and put that in. Now, if you are flying and you're trying to conserve space and you're only bringing a carry-on, you are limited in your liquids. One time I did do that, and rather than bring shampoo and conditioner, which I knew I would get at the hotel, I brought a bag of mists as my liquid quart container of carry-on liquids. I don't know if that sentence made sense, but hopefully you understood what I was saying. So I used my liquid carry-ons for my mists rather than anything for personal use. Okay, so here is my bag of liquids that will go into my checked bag once I get ready to pack that. All right, folks, next up, well, I actually have no idea what's next up, but you'll find out in just a second. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I pack my caterpillar crop. I do bring it with me. This bag is made especially for the caterpillar crop. For those of you who do have a caterpillar crop and you're interested in bringing it with you, if you don't have the bag, which is available on their website, I'll put a link down below. And but if you don't have this, the other thing I suggest, and what I actually did before I had this bag, was I traveled with the box that the caterpillar crop came in. So as I said, this is the bag, and you can see the caterpillar crop fits nicely in here. It's got straps. It does have a shoulder strap so you can carry it over your shoulder. I only put this on when I'm going to be driving to a crop and I want to bring it into the crop room. When I'm flying to a crop, just to save space, I do keep it out here, out of here rather than in here. So there is a pocket here that you could put flat things in. Other than that, as you can see, I pack all of the thickers I'm going to bring, and that way I can help support the bar that holds the cutting apparatus, because this is what you want to keep from getting bent or anything. And it also, you know, obviously, if I didn't have these here, this would be a lot of wasted space, and don't want to do that when you have space at a minimum. So this zips up, and there's 2 zippers. And then also on the other side, there is a pass-through for luggage. So if you have a rolling cart or anything like that that you take into the crop room, you can just slide that over and be all set to go. All right, so this is how I pack all of my thickers and alphabet stickers and my caterpillar crop. All right, I'll be right back with the next piece. All right, so now that I've shown you the supplies that go into, sorry, my dog decided to squeak a toy. Now that I've shown you the supplies that go into my checked bag, I just want to share with you the last few things that are scrapbooking related that also go into my checked bag. The first thing is this piece called the Scrap-A-Mabob, based on the you know, a thingamabob, that type of thing. Instead, it's called a Scrap-A-Mabob, and it just holds a beverage, so it's off of your table. So this part screws up and down, and so it can clamp on to the edge of a table, and then your drink goes in here, and then this thing right here hooks in, and it holds your trash. Now, this is the one that came with it. I know on Etsy you can buy replacement ones that Velcro, because these do not Velcro off and on. You kind of have to wing it through the whole metal circular thing. If you sew, you could also probably make yourself one. So this goes into my checked bag. Then the next 2 things that go into my checked bag as well that are scrapbooking related are my Ditto bag, which is from Totally Tiffany, and it's just like one of those regular scrapbooking totes that you can get anywhere, except this one opens up. So when you get to the crop, you can lay it flat. Well, so it looks like this, but it goes up against the back end of your scrapping area, and that way you have all of this easy to grab. Now, you can get these from their website. You can also get them, I believe, at Hobby Lobby and Joann's. I don't know if they have all of the colors, but you can get them. And then the other thing I like to bring is this 31 fold-in file. I just have it clipped shut because I've had it open for quite a while, so it doesn't super stay flat. So it once again, it folds up, but then once you get it there, and then you can use this to hold your kits or a mix of kits and thickers, and it's just great storage to have, but it folds down nice and flat for travel. So just get that up. So these also go into my check bag because they fold nice and flat, so they're easy to transport that way. And then the final thing I put in my checked bag that is scrapbooking related is this seating pad, because you will be sitting down for quite a while, and not always the places you go to have the world's best chairs. So this once again is from Amazon. I believe it was around $20. It's a memory foam one, so I think those are a good one to get. Just not necessarily a specific brand. Some people like the ones that are bamboo. You know, that's a personal choice, as I say quite often, as Xanthi comes to join us. So these are the things that are scrapbooking related, but not necessarily for scrapbooking, that go into my checked bag. When I come back at you, we'll have a different view, and I will show you how I pack my bag. All right, folks, back in a second. All right, so here's my checked luggage. This bag is from American Tourister. I got it from ebags.com. That's where I got a lot of my luggage. They have a lot of closeout stuff. I can get not one-of-a-kind things, but things that are not necessarily black luggage, which I find is easier to deal with at the airport when I'm trying to remember all my stuff. So it also hides stains easier, which is always really nice. So this is empty except for one piece of paper. This is a poster board I picked up from Hobby Lobby. It was actually a recommendation from Janet from RTS Scrapbooking. I'm sorry if you're shaking. Xanthi is enthralled with the fact that my tripod is not in its normal spot. So I'm planning on just using this as a background for when I scrapbook. I don't mind if it gets a little bit messed up. I assume once I lay it out, it'll come back to shape. So I just have that kind of curled around the back, the bottom half of my luggage, and then I'll just put everything on top. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, get you guys put on fast forward, and then I will voice over. And I apologize, my animals are having a mock battle in the middle of my living room, right where my tripod is, because they're obnoxious that way. So, all right, I'm gonna get you put on fast forward, and I will talk through what I'm doing.
On the bottom of my bag, I'm going to place my Caterpillar bag. Now, I don't want to crush my Caterpillar, but there's plenty of thickers in there, and that will definitely cushion that. I'm going to use packing cubes for all of my clothes. It's a weekend trip, so I'm not packing that many. And then I'm going to tuck my liquid and my bag of scrapbooking supply, my iris container of scrapbooking supplies in the center, trying to keep them protected and on the higher side. I'm adding a couple pairs of a pair of flip-flops and a pair of slippers, and then my scrap and bob is going to get tucked along the top there. And then on top of my scrapbooking stuff, I'm putting my fold-in file, my ditto bag, and my cushion. There's plenty of room for stuff to be added, so I'm definitely not overpacked here. One thing I did forget is in my bag, I do have a weigher thingy just to be on the safe side.
Okay, so as you can see, everything fits. There's actually a bit of room in case I need to, at the last minute, add something else, like an extra sweater or an extra pair of shoes. And I can zip it up. This one expands, but I have not had to use the expansion, so yay. So now that I have all my checked luggage handled, I'm going to move on to the stuff I'll be bringing onto the plane with me. All right, everyone, I'm up to my carry-on luggage. Now, this is from Travelon. I got this on eBags. As I mentioned, I get a lot of my bags on eBags. I find it's a really good place to go. They always have sales. You can use Ebates. So it really works out well for me. This particular one is under the seat carry-on luggage. So as I mentioned in my introduction, it does fit under the seat of most airplanes. The only one I've had an issue with are like the really small regional planes, at which point I will gate check it rather than try to risk not being able to have room to put it anywhere. So I've never had a problem on Southwest. The only airline I've had an issue with is United. So this one has a small pocket in front for smaller things. I actually don't really end up using this for scrapbooking stuff. I use it more to put, maybe to slip my headphones in while we're in flight and stuff like that. Excuse me while I zip it up. Okay, then it has a pocket up here. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see that. And that's technically supposed to be for a small laptop or tablet. I don't actually use it for that. And then the big open compartment, this is where I keep my kits, and then on my way home, it's where I keep my completed layouts. Now, first is this small trimmer, and basically because it fits nicely in this little niche between the things you use to pull it out. Now, hold on one second. I put down the other thing I usually add, which is just an extra shirt, just on the off chance I need it. And then sometimes I'll add maybe a pair of leggings or something like that on this side. I don't need that for this particular trip, but occasionally I do. Now, as I've mentioned, I keep my kits in these Ziploc bags. They're not actual Ziploc bags, they're Ziploc style bags. Now, some of my Ziplocs are slightly larger, and also some of them have products in them that don't go over where you can close them. So what I do is I split up my kits between those that can close and those that can't close. And the ones that can't close, I make sure go face up, so that way when it's upright, when I'm carrying it, the opening is not at the bottom. Then these, which do zip shut, go facing down, and that way it just kind of evens out, because obviously the bottoms of the bags tend to hold more than the tops of the bags, but this tends to even out the height difference of that. Now obviously there's plenty of room in here, but you're not going to see me add anything else besides one thing. The one thing you're going to see me add, and this is my ATG, so that goes where the laptop slot is, and I just put that in there instead. The other things that are going to go in here are my tripod, my monopod that attaches to my tripod, and my cell phone adapter thingy for filming, but obviously I am filming, so I cannot show you that. But those, the tripod actually folds up and it fits like right here. And then the monopod folds up and it's only like that big, and like it's like a stick. And so that fits right there. And the cell phone adapter is like the size of a deck of cards. So everything folds up to fit in here. Easy peasy. I've done it before, no problem. And that is my carry-on luggage. And like I said, occasionally I'll use this smaller pocket to hold things while in flight, like my headphones, or maybe I'll put my phone in there or something like that, but not normally, just like something I don't use. All right, I think I will be coming back with my personal item. All right, we have finally reached the last section of this video. Yay! I know y'all are probably as excited as I am. So this is what I use for my personal item to carry on. For most places, depending on your ticket, in the US, you're allowed a carry-on and a personal item, which is usually a purse or a briefcase or something along these lines. This is a backpack. I plan to use it as a backpack, but right now it's styled as a briefcase. It's one of those convertible ones. Once again, I got this from eBags. Now, I mainly use this for electronics. Before I have my current laptop, my previous laptop was much smaller, and I used a tote bag, and I was perfectly happy using a tote bag, but because now I have a 17-inch laptop, it no longer fits in the tote bag, and I am concerned about it being obviously safe, so I wanted to go for something that had a lot of padding and protection for a larger laptop. So this backpack, like I said, it's a convertible one. I'll flip this over. So the straps are in here, but obviously you can use it as a briefcase. It has a handle on one side here. Yeah, here's the handle. And it also has where you can have it passes through, so you can hook it onto your luggage, but then you can also bring the straps out, hook them in, and you're good to go as a backpack. So as I said, it has a very large padded section for your laptop. It then has a regular padded section, and I'll show you on the front piece why this is blocked off here, but you can take this piece out so it does run the full length. In here I do pack my Ellie Studio title stampers. They're nice and flat so they fit well behind here. Oh, sorry, more stamps. I might bring a couple more alphas that I will fit in here. Other than that, the only things that go in here are my electronics. So I bring my Kindle and I bring my Nook for downtime and for playing time. And then I keep this little container, and this holds things like earbuds, an extra power charger, my Apple cord, my USB, just the regular one, the non-Apple one. I don't know what it's actually called off the top of my head. And then this just goes in this center section. And also in here I put my detailed scissors. And as I said, I may add a few more things. And then this down here is what they call an appliance garage. So basically your laptop cord can go in there, and it's completely separate from everything else. So that is what I bring when I pack to fly to go to a scrapbooking crop. Now, one thing you guys may notice is that nothing is overpacked. I have room in here. I have room in my carry-on bag. I have room in my checked baggage for stuff. Because what I have found when you go to a crop is either if it's given by a store, they end up giving you swag to bring home. Even if it's given not by a store, but you're going with friends, or maybe you're going and you're planning to be with people, a lot of times they will bring things for you as gifts. And then you have to find room for those gifts in your bag. Because even though, yes, you'll be using your supplies, the truth is you're also creating stuff. So you have to bring your creations home, and you have to bring your supplies home, and you may have to bring your gifts home. And often at many crops, they have a give and take table where maybe you bring some stuff that you aren't using anymore in your supplies, and you can take some things that maybe are of interest to you that someone else left because it wasn't of interest to them. So if there's one of those tables, you might bring some stuff home as well. So my advice is to either make sure your bags are not fully packed so you do have room to bring stuff home in, or you could just pack an extra bag and either bring it home with you, and depending on your airline, either have to pay the extra money, or if you, like for me, I'm flying Southwest, so I'm only using one of my 2 checked bag availability, so I can add an extra checked bag. Now, I actually did end up having to do that at the last crop I went to because I fully packed. I did not realize how generous people were going to be, and there was just so much stuff. I also forgot I had purchased an OT lamp from a friend of mine who was going to a Tuesday morning. And I went, oh, you dumb. You have to bring that home now. So, all right, folks, thank you guys so much for getting through all video. I cannot, if you managed to get through all the way to here, you're a rock star. If you have any questions whatsoever, just drop a comment below and I will get back to you. I will try to remember to put all the links in. Cannot guarantee it. But once again, if there's a link you need and I forgot to leave it, just let me know and I will fix it. All right, thank you guys so much. If you could flick me a thumbs up, that would be super awesome. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.